A hedge fund manager or car wash owner, 90 days to get ready for federal prison. Did this movie deserve better, or does it just suck? Welcome back to Does It Suck on the Snobs channel, where we watch, review, and dig into movies that time forgot, that bombed out the box office, or that you were just not sure whether to defend at a dinner party. I'm Mick Manhattan. Today we're reviewing a film that critics destroyed, audiences kind of loved, and that sits in a very complicated place in 2025. This is Get Hard. A genuine thank you to our Patreon member, Bronson Wright-Wolfe, for requesting this one for review. Get Hard was released in March 2015, directed by Ethan Coen, not Ethan Coen of the Coen brothers, and starring Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart. Will Ferrell plays James King, a spectacularly wealthy and spectacularly naive hedge fund manager convicted of fraud and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. He has 30 days to prepare. Kevin Hart plays Darnell Lewis, a hard-working car wash owner who James, operating entirely on racial assumption, assumes has served time. Darnell has never been to prison, but he needs the money, so he takes the job. The film is a series of escalating prison preparation scenarios that lean heavily into stereotype racial humor. The central argument about this film is the sharp satirical commentary on race and class in America, or is it lazy shock comedy behind the excuse of satire? That is a genuine argument, and it never fully resolves. The film came out of Will Ferrell's production company, Gary Sanchez Productions, the team behind Anchorman, Step Brothers, and The Other Guys. Director Ethan Coen had written Tropic Thunder, which navigated racially charged comedy with critical success. The pitch was simple. Pair two of the biggest comedy stars on the planet, give them a high-concept premise, and let them work. Both Ferrell and Hart have described the chemistry between them as spontaneous and genuinely enjoyable to generate. Hart has said Ferrell is one of the most committed improvisational performers he has worked with, someone who stays in a bit far longer than anyone expects, which forced Hart to match the energy. Much of the physical comedy was unscripted and built in the moment. The film's most controversial sequences were apparently in the script from early drafts, not added through improvisation. That means deliberate choices were made to include the material the filmmakers knew would be divisive. Whether those choices were artistically justified or simply provocative for provocation's sake is still debated. Critics were brutal. 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, 35% on Metacritic. The consensus relies on racist, homophobic stereotypes instead of actual wit, wastes a premise with real potential, and wastes the considerable talent of both leads. But the audience score sits at 64%, and the box office was even clearer. $90 million domestically on a $40 million budget, $111 million worldwide. Get Hard was a genuine commercial success. The gap between what critics said and what audiences did with their money, fan reception divides along the specific line. People who think the film uses crude humor to expose race and class anxiety versus people who think that gives it far too much credit. A decade later, with the comedy landscape having shifted significantly, that debate is more complicated than ever. The legacy of Get Hard is inseparable from the broader conversation about where comedy went after 2015. It arrived at the exact moment the industry began reckoning with what kinds of humor were acceptable in mainstream studio comedies. It did not start that conversation, but it became one of those films most frequently cited in it. Get Hard was more discussed and argued about in the decades since its release than it was at the time. It occupies an uncomfortable place in the conversation about comedy, race, and satire, and whether good intentions and commercial success can coexist with a material that significant portions of the audience finds harmful. And that is a more interesting legacy than most comedies get. Whether it earned a legacy through quality or controversy is the question. And it doesn't suck in an interesting way. This is just a racially motivated movie. I was never a fan. I saw it when it first came out, and I watched it a second time because this movie was requested for a review. It still doesn't hold up. It still has baseless comedy that doesn't really work. I do not enjoy it, and I actually think it's more racist than it is something that is funny. That's not even adding in all the homophobic stereotypes that they've put into this movie. This just isn't for me. Get Hard is just one of those movies that just doesn't really work. I don't know about you guys, but that's my verdict. It sucks. It doesn't work. I'd love to know what you guys think. Sure, there are some funny laughs at times, which are more absurd than anything else, but it's really just comedy that punches down at people, so I don't understand why this is funny. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Maybe you liked it, maybe you saw something in it that I didn't see, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Sound off in the comments. If you want to request a movie for Does It Suck, just like Bronson did, you can join our Patreon. We have a free tier, but our paid tiers have the perks of reviews and other things as well, and it really goes back into helping build out the channel. We truly appreciate it. Also, make sure to follow us at the Snobs all over social media and on Letterboxd and Substack, where we do written reviews as well. Until next time, everybody, I'm Mick Manhattan, and this is Does It Suck, and this is the Snobs channel. Make sure to subscribe, and until then, make sure to take care of yourselves because that's important. Be kind, rewind, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
wrapping up our podcast.